Perched above the Firth of Clyde at Gourock, Castle Levan was built around 1430. It has a commanding position with stunning views over the River Clyde, Loch Long and the Holy Loch. It is typical of the small Scottish fortified house with its tiny windows set in deep stone walls with turrets and battlements. Its proud defences look down on a courtyard and the 20th century. Inside, you are hardly aware of the castle's modern neighbours. Recycled wood has been put to great use in the guest bedroom, a medieval design taxing the skills of modern craftsmen. Door latches, made by a local blacksmith. The master bedroom occupies almost the entire second floor of the castle, with the ancient thick walls ensuring peace and quiet. Even in a medieval house, there is still room for modern comforts. Dominating the first floor is the Great Hall, still the hub of family life, just as it was 500 years ago. These reinterpretations of traditional painted ceilings are by the artist Norman Edgar. They reflect the interests and background of the Pearson family who live here. Tiny jewels of stained glass light up what might otherwise have been a rather gloomy corner. It is hard to believe that such a pleasant home once had an unsavoury owner. It was built around 1430 and owned by the Morton family. In the 16th century, it passed to Lord Sempill, whose wife Marion Montgomery was renowned for her harsh and often cruel treatment of her tenants, even resorting to murder when it suited her. She was sentenced to death by Mary of Guise, but was later reprieved on the condition that she remained within a 10-mile radius of the castle. Perhaps that wouldn't be much of a punishment today. By the end of the 17th century, Castle Levan was unoccupied. The need for fortified dwellings had largely passed due to more effective central government. The landed gentry were modelling their homes in keeping with Italian and French fashion, and gradually time, weather, and vandals turned the building, like many similar ones in Scotland, into a roofless ruin. It is difficult to believe that what we see today was rebuilt from just 3 walls and a pile of rubble. With the help of architect Ian Begg, a good stonemason and a team of dedicated craftsmen, the Pearsons, with courage and imagination, have restored a building many would have thought to be too far gone. The castle's exposed position overlooking the Firth of Clyde means that its stonework needs the protection of harling. Even in summer, salt spray can hit the windows. Unprotected stonework would soon be eroded by winter storms. This traditional Scottish rendering is made from sand, lime, and cement. The distinctive pink colour of the harling here is caused by the sand which comes from a quarry near Dunblane. Attention to traditional detailing continues in the front door and its wrought ironwork. The courtyard garden is in far contrast to the days when security against one's own neighbours, as much as any foreign enemy, was the order of the day. From a dismal, overgrown ruin, without a roof or even a water supply, Castle Levan has been turned into a comfortable family home with battlement walk and even a flagpole. Glamis Castle, made famous in Shakespeare's Macbeth. Glamis thou art, and Cora, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet do I fear thy nature. It is too full of the milk of human kindness. Daniel Defoe, writing in the 18th century, was amazed at Glamis' turrets, towers and statues. He likened the castle to a city. Today, it is the ancestral seat of the Earl of Strathmore and Kinghorn, and the childhood home of Her Majesty the Queen Mother. James VI keeps a watchful eye over the castle, along with his son Charles I. These lead statues were made by Arnold Quellen in 1686. This sundial was at the cutting edge of technology in the 17th century. It is a face for every week of the year, and the time could be worked out with quite a degree of accuracy. Unfortunately, the sun would have to be shining at the time. The Dutch garden was laid out in the 1890s. Mercury, the messenger of the gods, is the centerpiece. The lion of the Bose-Lion family. Glamis, as we see it today, is largely the creation of Patrick III Darrow. In 1646, when he was only 3 years old, his father died of the plague. He inherited enormous debts, but eventually paid them off and changed the castle from a drafty shell into a modern palace. He looks out over the policies to this day. Clearly a man of some style. The dining room was created in the middle of the 19th century. The centerpiece of the room is the massive oak overmantel with the 12th Earl's arms. This silver nef, in the shape of a galleon, which is the table's focal point, was given to the Countess and 13th Earl by their estate tenants on their golden wedding anniversary. rose of England and the thistle of Scotland. The crypt, one of the oldest parts of the castle. Legend has it that within these walls is a secret room where one Lord Glamis played cards with the Earl of Crawford and the devil himself on the Sabbath. The drawing room, once the great hall. The great plaster overmantel is picked out in colour just as was always intended. But the caryatids look just a little bit uncomfortable. This is Jacob de Wet's portrait of Earl Patrick in his see-through armour. De Wet had been brought to Scotland from the Netherlands to work at Holyrood House on a series of portraits of the kings and queens of Scotland. Lord Strathmore commissioned him to decorate the chapel at Glamis. For the sum of £90, he painted scenes from Lord Strathmore's Bible. Mistaken for a gardener, this is the only known picture of Christ wearing a hat. Pictures of disciples and martyrs, St. Simon wearing spectacles. An ancient oak press in the Queen Mum's sitting room. After her marriage into the royal family, her mother created these rooms as a retreat for the royal couple, from the pressures of state and publicity. It is very much a family home, with intimate family portraits. The Queen Mother's bedroom. Amongst all the famous visitors who have come to Glamis, James VIII stayed here in 1716. Later, when in exile on the continent, he declared that Glamis was the finest building he had ever seen.